Really? Really?
What?
That's the intro?
You think you can do it better?
I doubt it.
Well, here, Hotshot, you do it. Let's redo the intro. I mean, similar.
Yeah, pretty much.
Same genre.
Yep.
All right, well, if you can't tell, we are going to be critiquing live music photography, so we thought it'd be fun to do a little something different.
Right on.
This is Keith Bradshaw, and if you have been watching our channel, you know that he was in the last Critique the Community with Lee. What did you guys critique?
Fitness.
Fitness. You said that very confidently.
Well, I mean...
Fitness?
It was kind of funny. A couple of them, I mean, these are planned photo shoots, and there were... like this guy built like Hulk with chains and everything, but a duck face.
Yeah, the duck face?
Yeah.
You don't like the duck face?
I don't know, there were a few shots that were just, this will be much more
Yeah, I
easy.
assume we won't see any duck faces, but who knows, maybe we will. So
okay.
Let's get straight to the critique. Before we get started, we should probably set the next critique for next week. We need a new theme, we need a new idea. Do you have any ideas?
How about real estate shoots?
Real estate shoots. Well, we see a lot of those, and we've worked with a lot of real estate photographers. Let's do real estate. So if you want to submit your own pictures, go to the link below. You can upload your picture, and then next week we will sit down with somebody else. I don't know if it'll be Lee or David or maybe Mike Kelly, and we will do real estate photography. So with all of these critiques, you know the rating system, right? 1 through 5. 1's a snapshot, and then 5 is world class. Can't get any better. It's going to be the same with this critique, and the first image is always our highest rated image, and they're going to win a free tutorial. But like many photographers out there, when I first picked up a camera, the thing that interested me the most was shooting music. I loved to go to concerts, and shooting artists and bands was like the best reason to get the front row seat and to also have a camera.
Right.
It just kind of brought it all together. And so for fun, I've just brought up a few pictures that I've taken, and by no means are these great images. These were actually shot like 12 or 15 years ago. I think this was actually shot on film. This was like a little snapshot camera.
Okay.
One of those that you had to take the film out and develop it.
Oh, wow.
And this is back in the day. I used to love.
Who is this band?
This is Buck Cherry.
Oh,
this is the very beginning of Buck Cherry when
Yeah.
they were absolutely amazing.
This
and
pre-heroin?
this is the first record, so you know the best record. I think it's one of the greatest rock records ever. I'll put that up there with AC/DC and Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a good record, but you know, I had this, and then I shot Jason Isbell. Do you know him?
Yeah.
This is back when he was in like the Drive-By Truckers.
Oh, that's cool.
And you know, just
That's
I
back
loved
when
it.
he was a smoker.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, one cool thing about shooting bands is that many times you can show up to a venue with a professional camera and just kind of sneak your way into the show. You just tell them you're shooting for your local magazine, even if you
Those were the days.
Those were the days, and then you get a great seat and you get to see a show for free. And
I
come back with
remember
some
walking
pictures.
into the cockpit of this airline and just shooting everything, you know. Can I come in here with the camera?
Yeah.
And so I walked up there and the pilots were like, yeah, come on in. And now it's like all sealed up and, you know, you wouldn't bring a camera into a plane. And
You're showing your age, Keith. You're showing your age.
yeah.
The day you showed up in a
there were
cockpit.
ashtrays in the seats.
All right, let's get to the critique. So this is the highest rated image from the community's perspective. And this photographer has won a free tutorial. Go to fstoppers.com/store to check out the tutorials we offer, and you can pick out your favorite tutorial. We'll send that to you for free.
I like this a lot. This is great. I mean,
Are you ready to rate it?
yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, 4.
Yeah.
We both agree.
Why don't we give it a 5 though? What keeps this from being a 5?
I think for me, like one thing that bothers me a little bit is the crop. I think there's just like a little bit of dead space above his head that I don't think is needed. Like I almost, if I wanted to see it large on a website,
Oh yeah.
maybe I would just crop it a little bit.
I like that crop
Move him
better.
to the left and just get rid of the black on the top. I don't think that adds anything.
I like this crop you just did better than that. Yep.
But that's such a minor thing. That's something you can do when you're culling your work and cropping and putting on your website. I'm not really changing anything. I'm just, you know,
Right.
cropping it for your site. I I think in this type of genre, especially if you're trying to be published and you're trying to get money for it and you're trying to get bands to hire you and you're trying to get Rolling Stone to pull your images, I don't know that this dictates whether or not this is a world-class image or not, but like seeing the artist's face, I think, is always probably pretty important. You know, it's going to be hard to publish this image for any of those, for the band or for the publication, if you can't really tell who they are. Now, there's some bands that are big enough, you know, like if this is Maroon 5, then maybe they would say like, oh my gosh, we played this historic concert in a small club, and people are going to know that that's Adam.
Who is this?
I don't know.
Do we know?
No, we don't know.
Oh, no one knows?
And part of me feels like that takes away from it a little bit, because music photography to me is about the artists. So this is like the third or fourth picture I might show from this concert.
So all these
even
people
though it's done really
that are
well.
holding their cameras up, right? They have the lights on.
Yeah.
Are they taking photos, or were they asked to like?
I would have to imagine that this is like a ballad, or he asked them to do that, right?
Right.
Like, what would be the chance that people would have? It wouldn't look like that.
That's another reason I think it's a great photo, and it's lighting up the crowd.
Yeah.
So the opposite of showing the face, we get to see the people watching.
Right. The lighting effect is what makes this image. Without that, you have no image, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Isn't it funny that this is what it looks like on stage now? It used to be lighters, you know? You had your lighter
Right.
that you pull out. And now it's all cell phones. Really cool. I love it. Let's see what the community says. 3.27. So they were much more harsh than us. But this is the highest rated image. But always, as always, many times there's pictures in here that we will rate higher or like better than what the community.
So this is the highest rating of all of them?
From the community.
3.2?
Now keep in mind, our community are cynical assholes, so
Okay.
they probably rated this very low just to
gonna
try to
look.
win the tutorial. You always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But so that's the highest rated image. We also give away a second tutorial to a random winner. So pick a number 2 through 20, and they will win a tutorial.
14.
14. So you have to remember 14 because we always fail to notice we're on image 14. This is image number 2.
I feel like I'm supposed to know who this guy is.
I think that's going to be the case with many of these images.
Okay.
You put somebody on stage, you give them stage lighting and take a photo of them, you think like I should know who this is, but I do not know who this is.
I like it. It's good.
Does it belong in your portfolio?
Yeah.
All right, you ready to rate this?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we're off a little bit, but we both say 3.
Yeah.
I'm on the brink of saying this is like a 2.5 or a 2. Like, this would be an image I would probably want to replace fairly quickly if I was building a portfolio.
I see.
If I had been shooting for years, I don't know that this would make my portfolio. Some of the reasons I think that this image is, it's okay. Like, I like the angle. I think the composition's really unique, and it gives you the feeling that you have access. And we'll probably talk about access a lot more throughout this tutorial or throughout this critique. But this is not the common shot most people would get at a concert, shooting
Right.
straight across to the lead singer.
Yeah, you have to have a pass nowadays to that.
Yeah.
And so all of these, anyone who can or goes to the trouble of bringing a camera and getting a pass or going into the pit or whatever, they're going to get a couple of stars right off the bat from me, a couple of votes, just because they did it.
Yeah, you took the time to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
That was always my thing, is like taking a camera into a concert. I just said I got into many concerts for free doing that, but if you don't want to take pictures, it's a hassle to have this whole thing with you,
Yeah.
you know, and you got to carry it with you and whatnot. Now, of course, it seems like they're very strict, and there's we publish articles in Fstoppers all the time about artists, you know, performing artists using images from photographers for free, and the photographer saying they don't have permission, and now there's all these contracts. Like, music photography has gotten very tied up in all of this, you know, litigation and copyright, and there's all of these issues that are going on that I don't feel like were as big of a deal back in the day. But anyway, the point is getting a camera into a concert can be kind of difficult.
Yeah.
What I don't like about this image is the red light. I know you can't control any of this, and maybe like 5 seconds later the lighting would be different, but I just feel like the red light's hitting the back of his neck and it looks a little weird. My eye keeps going to the back of his neck.
It does.
Also, the fact that he's just dressed in a t-shirt and like his guitar strap looks kind of plain and boring. I just think nothing about this image makes me feel like you're shooting bands at the highest level. Now watch this guy be like the lead singer to a pretty popular band, and it is, you know.
Yeah, we should know who this is.
But I just feel like I don't get that vibe from this. I just kind of feel like this is a battle of the bands, and you're on the side of the stage, and it's a cool shot for what it is, but it could go in your portfolio, but I would probably replace it sooner than later.
We're going to be really embarrassed when we find out who it is.
I'm not, but
maybe
I don't know. I would think you and I, between the two of us, would know who this is. Anything you have to say about this image?
No. I don't mind the red neck.
Community says 2.84, a little harsher than us.
Now, when you go to the smaller view, the neck, when I see it from here, it looks like it has a hump on the back of it. But when you're blowing it up big, I don't notice that. But there are two different views I get to see here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you definitely know who this is. You play this guy's music all the time.
Yeah. No. But we're ready to vote?
Yeah, I think so.
1, 2, 3.
3?
We've been the same on all of them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, I like the access. You're shooting from an angle that most people wouldn't have access to. I love the blurry crowd in the background. They have light on them, which looks really cool. He's in a good, you know, motion, and like he's into the music. I don't think anything's too awkward there. There is something about the crop again. I don't know if I would just tighten it up a little bit. I don't like a lot of headspace over people, like just dead, empty headspace. And since you cropped his legs, I almost feel like you should go a little tighter and make the crop seem really intentional. That would be my one little critique.
That means just if you get a good shot, just send it to Patrick and he'll crop it for you.
I'll just crop it and make it like a third of a star better.
Okay, I'll tell you the only thing I really don't like about it, and it's his hand and his head. It's a little confusing at first what's going on there. Maybe a split second later or another shot, maybe it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
But the initial view, it was a little confusing right there.
So you feel like it's a little hard to read what's going on?
Yeah. But I like the shot. The lighting's great. Of course,
as always with our community, they are uploading their pictures and submitting them. So it's sometimes hard to tell how high res an image is. But if I zoom into this, I feel like there is a lot of motion blur. Or it might even be out of focus a little bit. It's kind of hard to tell if it's in focus, but it's just blurred enough to make it soft, or if the focus is actually not on his face.
I was wondering the same thing. If that
I would
the
delete
resolution or is it motion blur?
I've deleted. You know, I would go to a concert and shoot 1,000 pictures and delete 99% of them, and you'd have amazing pictures where the light's coming through the smoke and the artist is doing something and it's just not in focus. Maybe in the days of film you would just say it's acceptable and it's artsy and it's grainy and it's out of focus a little bit and it's fine. But like I just got in the habit of deleting anything that wasn't perfectly sharp, and also because of that I would also shoot with a really high frame rate. Like I would shoot 3 to 5 frames a second and do little bursts, just so that like if I shot quickly, my anticipation might blur the camera and moving it. But then if I just click, 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 maybe by the fourth one, he's settled into his movement or I've settled my camera. It's a lot more shooting, but then you do wind up with potentially sharper images.
Blurry, if there's movement, I don't mind a little blur. It kind of adds to
I mean, there is, I agree with that too. It's just this one feels like it's hard for me to tell if this is even in focus. Community says 2.65. They're being harsh on these. All right, so this is a very different style photography. This almost feels like it could be a portrait in a way. This would be something you might see in promo material, or it's like published along in the CD packaging or record. I guess we don't have physical products anymore, but if you had an album, this might be like in the inside panel.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
You said 4? You want to go 3?
No. I kind of want to go 3.5 on this one, but it's kind of like.
What do you like about this?
I like the composition. I'd like to see a little more behind the head.
I was thinking that too.
Just a little more. I like the way that most of the light is on the piano, and it kind of ties in the player and the piano. God, are we supposed to know who this is?
I think most of these artists we aren't going to know who they are.
Good, because
I like how this shot you can see into the piano, and I don't know enough about pianos. Is this like an upright piano versus like
that's an upright?
And so they've opened up the top, or it
Or
doesn't always look like this.
Or taking the top off.
Yeah, so it just adds a lot more character. I could imagine if this was an upright piano and the top was down, it would just be glossy or wood. There wouldn't be any interest there, and this shot I think would fall apart.
I like it.
I kind of like the black and white conversion. You know, there's some weird blackness happening up here. I don't really know what that is, but other than that little area where it's like a little darker, you know, the tonality looks really nice. I just think, you know, it's an okay picture. The crop's a little weird. I would like a little bit more behind him. It might make it feel a little more balanced.
Just a little more behind his head.
But then the black on the bottom and the black on the top, I think, kind of pulls this together.
Yeah, I like it.
But there's nothing like extraordinary going on here. There's no amazing expression from him. You know, I just feel like it's a pretty solid image.
I would like to give it a 3.5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
If I'd given it a 4.
I wasn't watching.
If you had given it a 4 and I'd given it a 3, we would have had that.
It'd be the same thing.
Yeah, but instead it's a solid 3. 2.97. Community almost says that exactly. All right, here we go. This is what you did for a living, right? With the light and the smoke, and did you have the hair?
I had the hair.
You had the hair.
Of course.
If you don't know Keith, Keith played in a band. How long did you play in a band full time?
A few years.
A few years. It was like a decade, right?
Yeah.
A decade.
It was longer than that.
Longer than a decade, and how many times a week did you play?
From, let's see, 86, 87 until 2013, 14.
And how many nights a week on average would you play?
Different bands. Sometimes it would be just the weekend bands where we would travel and do the college circuits. And then there was, the local band that we played 4 or 5 nights a week.
4 or 5 nights a week for years.
For years.
So
all around.
You've seen
weddings,
it all when it comes to the crowds and the. All right.
I played a nudist camp one time.
A nudist camp.
Yeah.
Well, that's a story here in a little bit later. Luckily, this guy's got clothes on, unlike the last critique.
Yeah, this is cool.
I'm trying to figure out the perspective here because this looks like speakers, but it's like a little disorienting.
It is.
Maybe this is like the sound monitors from the side.
I can't tell where they are. Like, are they in the pit and he's down front, or?
I mean, it feels like he's down low, but just the speakers on the left kind of throw me off.
I mean, this is almost like a studio shot or something.
And then like this line here on the left, the way it's angled down, it makes it feel like it's like a fisheye in the horizon's warping. It's just the orientation is really strange, but I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to rate it?
Yeah.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
4. Look at that. We are right on the money here. I love this.
I do too.
I think obviously this and the first image stand out the most to me. And it's all because of the smoke and atmosphere and the lighting, but then he also captured that moment. Mm-hmm. And maybe if this is a metal band, this guy's like headbanging all the time and you could get this shot a little more predictable. Yeah. But from my view, I'm just like, he nailed the motion, he nailed the moment, and everything looks pretty sharp here, unlike the last 2 pictures ago. Like, you can definitely tell his arm's sharp, but then there's a little bit of motion.
Yep.
What do you think of the crop, putting somebody right in the middle like that?
I like it. I'm fine with it.
It seems
I
to
like
work
everything about it. It's almost like an X if we just.
Yeah, it seems to work in this case.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat too how the flares going past the headstock and stuff. Very cool image.
Now, you came out to one of our reunion shows and took a shot, and it was backlit like this. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. I should have grabbed one of those pictures. You could have seen Keith in action.
We can still put
Did I take pictures? I think I just took video. Did I take any photos?
I think it was photos.
Okay. I don't remember, but
I remember the light was coming from behind, and I was...
Yeah. And as we'll see throughout this critique, so much of this depends on how the lighting is on the stage. Mm-hmm. How many times have you seen... I mean, I know I've seen some really awesome artists in really intimate settings, and the lighting's horrible. It's just like red lights.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's nothing you could do here photographically, but like, here's a legend in front of me, and I have my camera. Every picture turns out horrible, and you have to convert them to black and white. Like, that's the only way to save it.
Yeah.
But, in many cases, like, you're kind of stuck with the engineering of the lighting there at the venue to get a good picture. Mm-hmm. This is a great image.
It's great.
Community says 3.19.
I like it. And a lot of this is just getting lucky. When you have this light on the wall back here and all this stuff. I mean, this is not like a planned photo shoot. You just snap away until you get something that's really good.
You ready?
Wait, no.
You want to look at it more?
Well, are there any other musicians? Just curious. There's a drum set.
He's a rap artist. He may not have other musicians.
Yeah, I just see the drums.
Yeah. He could be an opening artist, and he didn't have...
Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
3. I'm between a 3 and a 4.
Yeah, me too.
I really like
My
this.
only issue with this is I can't, this crowd, I know there's nothing they could do about it, but it's just kind of...
You want to see more faces? Or
Yeah,
it's like,
something about it.
I
love this.
I was playing with the crop on this one, too.
You crop that one, go ahead, you do it.
I don't know what it would be, but I think the beer bottles and the cups and the people, and it seems the contrast gets way darker at the bottom. I just feel like some of this seems unnecessary to me. I don't know if you can go tighter and if that solves anything.
I like that, but I would almost like to see it in portrait mode.
Oh, like just...
Yeah, so get that cup out and just leave the light on the wall back there.
Yeah. I feel like the right side of the frame is more interesting. And maybe
I like this one a lot. I really do. I like
maybe the reason I feel like there's so much contrast in the bottom left. It's like the blacks are crushed, and then you have so much detail behind the artist and the smoke and with the drums and the risers and everything. You were saying a lot of this is just luck. I think what I admire about music photography, live photography, is if you have the access and you can move freely around the venue. Now, sometimes you can't do that, but if you can, I really think it comes down to being aware of what the lighting's doing and maybe you're familiar with the artist's set and you know what they do, song by song. What I respect is people who can find this light and then move themselves into this position, and then you wait to get this moment, knowing that this light is better than maybe it would be from the crowd's perspective. That's the part of music photography I always thought was the most interesting, is you're thrown these horrible lighting situations and you can't light them. You don't want to use strobe and you can't use flash and you're not setting up anything. It's the game of trying to figure out what is this guy on the right side of the stage doing consistently, and how can I place the camera somewhere in the venue to capture the best moment of that one guy.
It looks like this photographer is just standing wherever they can stand.
Possibly, but if that's the case, they got a really cool image out of it.
I like it a lot. It's great.
Community says 2.89.
Okay, this is different because this is more of a photo shoot.
Yes. I assume they're not just playing out in the middle of a field for the fun of it. But this is kind of like portraiture band photography. It's a different genre or a different side. All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
3. I went with 2.
I barely went with 3.
Yeah. What do you like about this?
I like the color. I like the colors a lot. I like the depth of field and the focus I like. What I don't like is their expressions. This guy here, you couldn't find a better frame of this guy?
The guitar player?
He's kind of pissed.
Yeah.
And this guy, he's just kind of looking down. They don't look like that type of band. They should have a little easier going face. She's singing, so I'll give her a break.
I guess I'm trying to figure out if this is a live performance and you just captured this image of them performing, or if this is more like a styled shoot where the band needs photos and you got them together and then you said, hey, perform and I'll take pictures. I guess this could be at a concert or an event outside or maybe a wedding or,
It could be a live. This is not a photo shoot then. It could be a live. They just stood right in front of them and snapped away. I just feel like to get it up around a 4 that they would pick a different frame,
How do you feel about the guitarist being cut out of them?
I don't like that. It's like you're cutting the headstock off for some reason. But then again, if you crop the whole thing,
Really
No,
crop it.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
That doesn't work either.
I think it brings the attention to the girl too much.
Yeah.
I almost wish they were just like closer together.
Yes, for sure.
Or maybe you could have stepped further back and zoomed in more. And then, like, I also don't like that the horizon is going right through them and there's so much white sky above them.
Kind of like a beach shoot.
Yeah, beaches are very difficult to
The
shoot.
worst.
You just have a line. Everybody wants to shoot at the beach. And then
the
you try to tell
worst.
them that, like, it's just going to be a line behind you.
I know.
You almost have to shoot down the beach or do something interesting. Yeah, I feel like this photographer, there could have been something different with the focal length or the positioning of the camera. Maybe you could have gone up higher. I do like the colors.
Yeah, that's what I like about it, the colors.
I just feel like this is something I probably wouldn't put on my website.
No.
I don't know. I'm just, or like you said, maybe there's a frame where they're like a little more expressive and they look a little happier.
Well, happier or looking in a different direction. Both of these guys are not happy with something that's going on over there.
Yeah. And as musicians, I mean, one of the most fun things about being a musician is interacting with the people you're playing with. So if there's a moment when they're like looking at each other like, hey, we're grooving and this is working out,
Right.
there's moments where like you do get some really cool expressions, and hopefully we'll see that in some more pictures. This looks like they're super detached and they're like kind of over this performance. Like, I'm ready to go home. Community says 1.85, so they definitely do not
Wow.
believe that goes in your portfolio.
Hey now.
You recognize these guys?
Yeah.
Huh. Is that Mick Jagger?
It's a little bit of facial work going on there.
A little
on
bit of
this one.
facial work?
I think so.
I actually want to go see these guys. They're going
Me
to be
too.
like
They're one of my favorites.
They're
I love
in
'em.
Vegas. I've seen them twice, and they're in Vegas doing like a residency. But then they're going up to Boston for like 5 shows or so, maybe next month. And I just feel like you're getting at a point where like you're not going to be able to see Aerosmith anymore. Like they're already not what they were, but like soon they're probably not going to.
I mean, how much longer can he sing like that? You know.
I don't worry so much about Steven Tyler. I worry about the other guys.
I know.
Like Joe Perry is like
Did you see Joe Perry on that
wasn't he just on the Grammys or something?
something a couple years ago?
Yeah,
Was
he's
not the best.
Yeah.
And I love him. His playing all those early Aerosmith albums. They came up with the coolest music.
Rocks. That album is
All
like
of it. Rocks is one of the
perfect.
best rock albums ever. Of course, he's the mastermind right there
Right.
behind the whole thing. But the playing, all of their playing is just great. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Perry, I do love him a lot.
Let's get to critiquing the image.
Okay?
This isn't critique the band.
I know. That's true.
You ready?
No, I'm not
No?
ready. Man, I just like the band so much. It's hard to. All right. 1, 2, 3.
I'm going 3.
Me too.
I'm kind of only going 3 because it's the band, and if you put this in your portfolio, it instantly makes you look like you.
We're there, yeah.
Well, you shoot that caliber. I mean, this is like an A-list band. Like this is Aerosmith's like the highest level of rock band you could shoot.
Yeah.
I feel like the emotion's not great. They're both like making your favorite duck face. And then in the bottom left, it looks like this was shot in the crowd and someone's hand is just barely covering over, the bottom left of the frame.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels like this isn't the best moment, but that background's incredible.
What is that?
I think they're just so far away from their background, and it's like the smoke and the colors that like you shoot a little telephoto and you can blur that out. Like it just looks like a painterly.
I would
It's
like
really
to see
cool.
this before the crop because you can. It's cropped, obviously.
You think it's cropped?
I think so.
There's probably just people and heads and arms.
Oh yeah.
And that's, again, goes back to the access. Or if you can, with like, especially the mirrorless cameras now, you can hold it so much higher
Yeah.
that if you could just get it above them. But I still think it's a good moment. They're next to each other, Joe's shredding, but like their facial expression is just kind of like, it's not, I mean, maybe Joe always looks like that. That's what guitar players are notorious for, like making the John Mayer
It's
face.
hard not to.
But I just feel like, not the greatest expression, but the background, the lighting, and the subject matter, I feel like are good enough that like you could put this in your portfolio. I would feel really bummed if this was the best picture of Aerosmith that I got at the concert.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Hopefully you would get more.
But if you obviously, this wasn't shot on a phone, so they obviously have a great camera there. Hopefully, there's more pictures from the set. But because they submitted this,
is anything in these critiques shot on phone?
I would imagine no, not in this day and age.
Okay.
I mean, maybe there is somebody who just enjoys taking photos and they snuck in their film camera. And I mean, I shot a lot of my early music photography was shot on film just because I didn't have a digital camera at that point.
I said phone. You're saying
phone.
Yeah, like an iPhone.
Maybe I just I don't think you're going to get that sharpness and that blur out of an iPhone. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at the detail. Like the highlight, everything's there. I don't think this was shot on a phone. But
I'm just wondering if anything submitted.
I mean, there's always somebody out there that tries to sneak one past us, and they do a rendering or they do a screen capture from a video game, and they try to pass it off as architecture.
Oh,
I don't know. Like,
geez.
I trust our audience is honest. Community says 2.66.
We're close to these guys.
So maybe that's image 8. Maybe we should take a little time out and talk about music in general. You are an incredible musician. You play piano, you play guitar,
No, I don't.
you play drums. You have the whole setup. You're always making little videos and putting them on YouTube. Who are some of the more interesting concerts you've been to? Maybe, like, has there been a show?
Well, you and I went to see Jeff Beck. High five.
We saw Jeff Beck like 6 months ago. So the thing I like most about Jeff Beck is he was a founder of like British blues. He's right back there in the 60s, One of the first guitar players to really make rock music, electric guitar playing what it is. But then, unlike many of his contemporaries, like Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page, he's still playing, he's still writing new music, and he's better than he's ever been.
He's amazing.
And he innovates. Like, he's doing these techno records, and he's getting different younger singers, and like, oh my gosh, Jeff Beck is like the most amazing guitar player
He really
ever.
is.
Who are some of your favorites?
I'm telling you who the worst is.
Who's the worst?
One of your favorites.
One of my favorites.
Slash.
You don't like Slash?
The most overrated guitar player.
Slash is my second favorite guitar player.
God.
I just saw him in Boston. I will admit, back in the day with GNR, he would be out of tune and he was kind of sloppy. I just saw him at the House of Blues.
Yeah.
He was
good?
amazing. I mean, he was amazing. He's not like Jeff Beck good, but he's, in terms of like a blues rock guitar player, he's my favorite. Like, I love the stuff he did with Michael Jackson. I love the stuff he did with Guns N' Roses. His Apocalyptic Love record, it's perfect. It's also like the Buck Cherry record. It's like a classic rock record.
I think he's a poser.
How can you not like Slash?
He's just all hair, hat, and cigarette, and it's just like...
He has an image. Unlike some of these guys, he has an image.
Yeah, he's just all pentatonic scales. He's not anything good, I don't think.
Okay, well, you got to give us one of your...
I mean, like, if you want to go into blues, like Joe Bonamassa, he never misses a...
Yeah, he's good.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then,
Rob, what do you think about Eddie Van Halen?
I've been watching a lot of Eddie Van Halen videos lately, and he is the most interesting like person because he's so defringed and like so many drugs, and he's gone through these periods. But like, man, he's like one of the most. I think he's one of the most important people in all of guitar playing. Like, he pushed the bar more than anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, even more than Jeff Beck. Like, Jeff Beck, I think, is better. I enjoy his music potentially better. I don't know. I grew up with Van Halen, but Eddie is like, without Eddie or Hendrix, I feel like they pushed it so much further than everybody else.
Well, I'm going to a lot of hate between Slash and Hendrix. Now, I love Hendrix, but he just didn't tune very much.
Yeah,
he was like out of tune.
He was out of tune a lot.
Yeah, I know he's a pioneer. Don't hate me. I love him. His songs were good. His playing's good, but gosh, he needed some tuning.
He also set his guitars on fire, so maybe that accounted for some.
That kind of makes up for it.
All right, let's get back to the critique. I know a lot of these guys out here are not guitar players and probably don't care.
We don't care about music. We just care about photography. All right.
Talking about Van Halen. Oh, the watermark? You're not a fan of the watermark? This is like a straight-up David Lee Roth move right here.
Yeah.
Even kind of has the Van Halen, like...
Is this a concert? I'm guessing this is a real show?
I mean, yeah, I would imagine.
Okay.
Do you think he has all those cabs running at once, or are they just for show?
I think they're for show.
For show. It's another classic rock move.
Mm-hmm. Boy.
You ready?
No.
No? You need more time to look
No,
at it?
I'm ready.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
3. I agree. What you seem to be hesitant. Are you having a hard time deciding if this is a 4, or is there something about this image that you don't actually like?
Well, the thing right off the bat that grabs my attention more than anything is the watermark.
The watermark.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I lose the whole thing and my attention goes straight to that.
Do you not like the style of the watermark, or you just don't like the watermark being there? Period?
I don't like it being there, period.
I agree. And I know why photographers do it. We've had videos on watermarks and why people should and shouldn't do it, and whether or not they're...
There should be some standard where it's all, has a little box that everything looks the same if you want to brand it.
Well, if you look through magazines and they do bylines, many times they just have like a very simple text. It's just in the bottom. It's classy. And
that is fine.
Yeah.
That is fine. But I'm seeing watermarks like in the middle of the image and stuff sometimes.
Yeah. Well, people want you not to steal their images.
Yeah.
When they could just copyright them and then just do infringement cases and not degrade their work by putting a huge watermark on it. But
this is good. Obviously they had to be there to get this shot, and then take a whole bunch of shots until you get one. And so this is really cool. I like
this is a good example where like either this guy does this a lot, or the photographer is aware and familiar with his show, and he knows that like, oh, there's always this time. One of the most amazing experiences of my life was we got to film Bon Jovi with David Bergman, and David Bergman is one of the greatest music photographers I've ever met. He's been Bon Jovi's personal photographer for like, goodness, almost like 9 years now. And that video that we did, you can see that on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It was all about access, and it was, he's worked his way up and he's gotten to the point where he could, have a relationship with the band. But he knew the show so well. In a band like Bon Jovi, 80% of their songs are the same every concert, but then 20% they change out new songs. But he knew the show so well, and he knew when that one random song gets switched in, what would happen.
Right.
That he could say, John is going to do this one thing, and I'm going to be in the perfect place to capture it. Or Richie's going to do this other thing, or whatever it will be, or the fireworks are going to go off. And so, the more that you know about the band, or the more that you work with them, or if you go on tour with them, the better pictures you can get, because you'll be prepared for moments like this. And I think that's one of the dedications of the craft, that like you could go to this venue every weekend and shoot a different band, and your portfolio would probably be okay. But when you get the chance to work with one band exclusively, and very few people probably have the means to do that, but you can get the best images ever, because not only are you dealing with the lighting, but you know everything they're going to do, and it helps you anticipate those great moments.
If this were a planned studio shot, I would rip it to shreds. Of course. But I mean...
like you would like to see his face.
Right.
Maybe you'd like the guitar angled a little bit more to the camera, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a big deal.
This guy can really jump high, huh?
Well, I do the whole jumping series on my Facebook.
Yes, you do.
And everybody thinks I jump high, but when you get down low, it can...
How many jumping shots have you done across the world?
I don't know, like 100, 150.
At least.
At least. I don't know. I haven't done one in a while, but... So we gave this a 3. Belongs in your portfolio.
I like it. It's good.
It's cool. It's one of those, like I said before, you may replace it eventually. I really love the graphic element of this. I think that flag makes this stand out so well. And then the fact that the cabs are all lined up. It kind of bums me out you can't see his face.
Yeah, I would push a little more than a 3.
Community says 2.81.
We're on. They're right.
Oh boy.
What? Dude.
That is pretty crazy.
I'm guessing they're not on pop radio.
No, they're on the rock station. Maybe. This might be too heavy for that.
What's coming out of the head there? Is that behind him, or is that?
I think he has a mic stand that is made out of chain.
That's it.
And it's like
This continues.
He's holding the mic stand to his left or something. And then in the right, he's got this like contraption. You think that's connected to the light stand? It's all one thing?
To the mic stand?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
this chain is part of whatever that is over there.
But like, is the cow head and the flamethrower built in, or is that
think
something just in his hand? Kind of hard to tell if it's like mounted or...
Look, he's squeezing right there. There goes the fuel. There's the igniter.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's pretty wild. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
4. I went 3. I was on the brink of going even 2.
I mean, they're close. It doesn't look like it's zoomed as much. They're right there, you know.
They definitely captured the moment. I guess my problem is I don't like these bones in the
I
foreground.
don't either. I don't like that being there. But what can you do? This is live. It's not like they had they can't get this shot without something being there.
Maybe. I just
could
think
have moved, but they didn't know,
Again, it goes back to how many times have you worked with this band? How many times has this guy done this in the show? Are you anticipating this? Are you able to move over? Maybe there's something over to the right. Like, there's so many things you can't say by critiquing an image like this. But if I were to guess, if I were to see an image like this published in a magazine or on someone's website, or a photographer like David Bergman who might work with the band for a whole tour, I kind of would expect a little bit more than to have the bones. Or have more bones. Like, it would be more of an element. It just kind of feels like
I don't like that either from there over. But just because they're there, they did all this.
Yeah.
And they're, I mean, that's not zoomed in. I think that's a little more wide than what do you think that is? Like,
I mean, it looks like a 50 millimeter.
Yeah, 50.
Or something.
That's what I'm thinking. So they're 10 feet away or something like that.
And you're probably sitting there being like, damn it, those bones.
I can feel the heat.
I can't get the bones out of the frame.
Right.
I understand. I think if you're trying to critique this and say what could be done better and what should be done, and what distracts you from putting something in your portfolio, the bones are kind of like, it just,
Do your crop and see what you can come up with here.
I mean, you can't really crop a whole lot. You crop that, you crop the bones out, and now it's like all about the skull, and it's less about the performance. I think you want you kind of want this guy in the background. You kind of want, you can't really see the crowd, but like, it feels like a performance.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I appreciate performances like this. You go see a show like that. Like, I don't know that I would love this music.
Yeah.
But I appreciate seeing a show.
Not a lot of songs in major keys.
No. 2.97. So they were kind of right where I'm at, but like I said,
I'm still saying just to be there.
Yeah.
To actually get there. And it's even possible that there's someone standing right to the right of the photographer, and there's no way that it could even move over a foot to get the bones out.
Hey, I understand. Like, it's like with street photography or, photojournalism, like a lot of these genres of photography, like there's only so much you can do. But at the end of the day, I don't care how easy the picture was or how hard the picture was to take. I still, I just don't like the bones.
Oh. I like it. I'm a little confused of what I want to look at first.
Yeah.
Like this is the main thing. But, this guy here playing cello is obviously the main thing. But my eye goes to the rest of this.
Yeah.
Incredible place, too.
Yeah.
Location's amazing.
You ready to rate it?
Yeah.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I went 2 for many of the reasons you just said.
Really? Too busy and it makes your eye...
I love the venue, and I wouldn't know what the venue would look like without the mirror.
Yeah.
But I just keep thinking the crop and composition's so strange. Like, it is all about him, yet you're going to the right of the frame, and the right of the frame gives you a little more information, but it's not good information. It's not like pictures, you can't see the whole orchestra or the quartet, whatever this is. There's a lot of people here, but you see the back of the guy. Like, it's just, it almost feels like you're trying to be as creative as you can in the moment. But at the end of the day, when you're curating your portfolio and trying to decide what you should put in front of people, this, I don't know, would really make it.
Yeah.
I wish I could give more critique. Like, I kind of just feel like you make this a vertical image with just him.
Once again, just make this a portrait mode.
It might be better. You lose a lot of context, but again, I just don't know that I'm...
Well, what happens here is what's going on in, like, his bow is confusing with the violin player, his hands over her head and stuff like that. Not anything you can do about that. But that's why all of these images, I mean, you can't really mean, you can critique them, but you certainly can't make fun of anything here.
No. I'm not trying to say the photographer's awful or they don't know what they're doing. I would probably take the same shot. And I guess it depends on the client. If this is a wedding and you're shooting for your wedding client, they're going to be happy with this shot. Like, okay, it's fine, it's cool. If it's for the band or for this guy, he's probably going to be happy. But if you're trying to build a portfolio that's trying to attract larger clients for shooting live music, I just feel like this probably isn't going to make the cut. That doesn't mean that you can't make money doing this. It doesn't mean that you can't have a happy client. But I just think for your own portfolio and for raising the bar and trying to present the absolute best work, you wouldn't want two goons like us being able to look at the picture and be like, I don't like the crop and what's going on the right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want that conversation to happen with anybody. You'd want people to be like, that's a badass picture.
Right.
And, you know, I think if you just made this vertical, it would help it. But again, I don't know. I love the conversion. This like sepia black and white tone, I think is done really, really well.
Like a duotone or
tritone? It's really cool. And then here's a great example of a sharp image with like the hand blurred. It's like a slow enough shutter to kind of give some movement.
Right.
I just think the subject matter itself, it's like, I don't know that if I went to a high-end concert photographer's website, I would see something like this on their site.
It's hard for me when people are looking out of the frame. It takes a lot. When they're looking into the frame, it's like always good, but when they're looking away out of the frame on the left hand, you know, he's on the right side looking to the right. Especially
when there either needs to be nothing and it's like you've intentionally made him look out of the frame, or you need something else super interesting to counter that. But I agree, it's like you want to go to him and then look down to the left, but then half of the frame pulls you to the right and it's not very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what at the first second, which thing to look at. You know? Okay.
Community says 2.89, so almost a 3. They might like it a little bit more than I do. Next image.
Rock.
Any idea who this is? I like his boots.
I was going to say.
Those are good boots right there.
What kind of pedals does he have over here? Is it a tube screamer?
It's like a tube screamer. And I don't know if I can make out anything else on there. So like
Let's see what else. All right, you ready? Who is that guy? We're supposed to know this guy, I'm sure. I mean, he looks famous.
Yeah, he's got the look down. I don't know who this band is. I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
2? I went 4.
We totally disagree on this one.
I think this is one of my favorite images out of this critique. Like the light to me looks great. The motion looks great. It's a clear shot of him. I wish I knew who he was, but like I don't know how much that should matter. I feel like if you were scrolling through a portfolio and I saw that image, it'd be like, oh, that guy can take great pictures at a concert. I like this. What do you not like about this image?
It's kind of the same old thing. I've seen this done hundreds of times.
I agree.
Nothing that special about it. That's it. I mean,
it's just because it's too common.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the same. Someone, you know, I should give everyone a 3 for being there, but this particular image, I went down to the 2 because it's the same. It's the same shot.
I guess I just feel like I could say that about so many of these images. Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, like it's the same old thing. Like the fire breathing thing is kind of crazy, but like a lot, you know, a lot of these are the same old thing. It's just, you know, I think it's just capturing the moment and like making the most out of what you're given. And I feel like this is a really cool shot.
I think this is a good photographer. I just don't think this image is anything that different, you know.
Well, let's see what I love the composition too. I feel like he's placed well in it, and like his body's got some movement and shape, and the guitar's going out. Like the only thing that's kind of like taking me, like the one top part of his hair, just feels like it's like. I love the motion of the hair, but it's a little crazy.
It's crazy hair.
Again, I gave it a 4. I think this is like one of my favorite images I've seen.
I give his hair a 4.
You give his hair a 4. All right, let's see what the community says. 3.13. So they like it less than me, but they like it more than you. That's our biggest divide so far. Okay. All right, you ready?
Kind of.
Kind of. Some of these are hard to judge.
I'm ready.
Because it's like I keep going back to like who the guy is, and if I like the performer, I seem to rate it higher.
I want to know if is this left-handed, or did they reverse the image?
I doubt they'd reverse the image, right?
I can't say that I've ever noticed a left-handed violin player.
Really? I'd have to imagine they're
All right, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
2.
Same here, yeah.
I think my biggest problem is just the coloring on this. It just makes his face look so green.
Green, it is very green.
Yeah, and I know with stage lighting, like trying to fix the white balance and the color can be a nightmare. Sometimes you have no choice, but like I said earlier, make it black and white. But you have some nice colors in the background. I would want to think that you could selectively color his face and skin tones to make it look a little more natural.
Or desaturated a little. Desaturation would take some of that green cast out.
Yeah. I keep also just wondering, like, facial expressions and then, like, microphones covering stuff. Like, I see it. There's energy and emotion here, but, like, I just think, like, his facial expressions isn't the greatest. But I don't know what his other facial expressions could be in this concert, you know? It's just, I don't know. It's not really... I also feel like the contrast in this is kind of strange. Feels like super contrasty.
Super dark, super black.
Super dark blacks, and then like, you know, you got some of the highlights in his face kind of blowing out. I mean, it's not the worst photo. Maybe 2 is like slightly harsh, but again, I just don't think this should stay in your portfolio very long if you did have it.
Yeah.
If you're just shooting locally and you're trying to get to that next stage and you're trying to get to a larger club or have a relationship with somebody in town, maybe this would work well, especially if this is another local club in your market. But the second that you're like the photo guy, you know, the live musician guy, I'd probably replace this one fairly quickly.
Right.
Community says 2.51.
Yep.
All right, so this is photo number 14, lucky number 14, and this photographer has just won a free tutorial in the Fstoppers store. Unfortunately, we do not have any tutorials on live music photography, but we have tutorials on all other genres as well. So,
ready?
I believe so.
I'm just trying to figure out where they are because
they seem higher up.
They do seem higher up.
And it seems like this is like an LED panel or a screen, because you can see the little checkering.
Man,
it's probably a pretty big stage. I'd imagine, and this artist might be a bigger artist because of
you don't know who that is?
I don't know who that is. Do you?
No. Man, I hate to vote on something like that because once again, it was hard to get there and get the shot.
Yeah.
And you only get what you get. I mean, it's not like you can say, "Hey, can you sing that line again? I'd like to get a little."
I think with this critique, you have to remember this isn't about what were you capable of doing in that moment, as much as it is, does this picture belong in your portfolio?
Ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Dude, we're almost dead on.
Yeah, we're pretty similar on this. I just think like she doesn't really look too flattering in this.
No.
You know? It's like you've cut off her arm and you've cut off a lot of her body. Her hair's kind of like a mess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm thinking she wouldn't be real happy with this shot.
It probably wouldn't be a shot she would use.
No.
And again, it's like in a performance, you can always pick out a split second that looks bad. You remember the whole Beyonce controversy at the Super Bowl? One of the greatest Super Bowl performances ever, but somebody took the picture where she looks like a monster, and it's just that split second with that dance move, and she looked crazy, and she did all these like cease and desists and tried to remove the image. Like it was a huge story years ago. Anybody can take a picture and make an amazing performance look bad just because of the way the shutter hits.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, I'm not trying to take away from her performance. I'm not trying to take away from like her look or the photographer's capability, but this specific moment in cropping just doesn't look that exciting to me. The light's kind of nice. You know, it feels like an outdoor performance, and the lighting is pretty, you know, flat and soft. But I feel like there's this headspace above her. You cut off the elbow, and then like her hair's kind of a mess. It just, I don't know. This isn't an image I'd probably keep in my portfolio very long.
Right.
Community says 2.39.
X. Do you remember the band X?
Oh, look.
Got a couple.
You notice anything strange? They did your favorite little thing. They put their watermark right through
Oh gosh.
the entire picture.
Oh no.
Kind of hides in there. You wouldn't. It's a little hard.
God. That changes the rating system right there.
That is one of those things that I feel like, when it comes to portfolio or not being in your portfolio, that's like, you just take that off.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would really critique this worse because of that, but it is there. All right, I'm ready.
Wait, I'm not quite ready because they were there. They got in there with a camera. They got that exact moment, which is really cool because it was like, do you think this is when the fireworks were just starting? Because it seems like there would be some residuals in the air falling down or lighting up something. It's like the moment when it first happened.
Yeah, I feel like they.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
3. I went 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a great image. I think this photographer, it feels like they know what they're doing. They might even have access, but they chose to come back to get this shot. They seem like they're higher above everybody. And more importantly than anything, they knew this moment was coming up. Because how many times would you be like, oh shit, the fireworks, and you're up close, or like you're not ready, and like you just said, everything is still going up.
Yes.
And so I feel like this photographer was prepared for this. They were ready for it. And even though you don't know who the band is, I don't know what the X is, I don't know if this is a DJ, I don't know what's going on here. You scroll through a bunch of images and you see that.
Yeah.
And you feel like this guy shoots really big festivals and really big artists, and he is able to capture an amazing moment. I feel like this type of image, even if it's just one of these, without details of the band, I think you need 1 or 2 of these in your portfolio.
I like the way it gives all the audience rim lighting from the back.
Yeah,
you know.
it's really
Looks
cool.
really cool. I would have gone forward, but it's got all that, you know, watermarking and stuff.
I mean, but they can just take the watermarking off. I agree. I don't think this photographer should put the watermark over his images. It's a little weird. But, you know, I think this is such a commercially viable image. Like, if you had a live album or a DVD or something, like, this is the back cover of it, you know? And, like, this is the moment of that tour, like, the ending, the final song. Like, I think it's great. I don't know that I would change anything, really. I love it.
Yeah, and the exposure of a really bright, you know, you can see everything. Back to the people again, the audience.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very good exposure.
It really makes me feel like this photographer knew this was going to happen and has shot this a couple times maybe, and like they knew what the settings were, because if you just happen to get this by luck, that seems very unlikely. And if you did, it would be like everything's overexposed, or it's just not.
Right. No, everything's.
Or like you said, the fireworks are falling, and it's like 4 seconds too late. Really cool. Community gives this 3.19. Solid image goes in your portfolio. I think it's better than solid. I think that's a great image, especially when you see it large.
Well, once again, the community's right.
Yeah. Feels like they definitely had access on this.
Yeah. I like it.
You have a rating?
Yeah, but it's a boring rating, though. I don't have anything wonderful or terrible to say about it.
All right. Well,
1, 2, 3.
3. I think this can go in your portfolio. I would just like to see a little more post-production done on it. I feel like I'd like to see a little more contrast or dodging on him. You know, maybe you could just take the dodge tool and just hit him once or twice to give him a little more brightness. Just feel like the conversion just feels a little flat to me. Not my favorite photo, but like I think it's important again to have range in your portfolio and show that you have access, that you shoot other things other than the lead singer or the guitar player. The drummer probably gets photographed the least.
Right.
And I feel like the wide angle view of this is like pretty cool and intimate. Like I like the overall shot. I just feel like the post could just have a little bit more punch to it.
I wonder if this vignetting is just because it's wide angle, or is that post? Because if that's the case, the bottom could have used a little less of it.
Oh, I see. You think it goes too black on the bottom side.
The top looks fine. Looks good.
Yeah, and I think, with classic concert photography, like shots like this that are super wide angle, almost fisheye, it's kind of common, where in many other genres it's like it looks horrible. You're like, don't take a fisheye to a wedding. Don't take a fisheye to a landscape. Like, there's so many things that it's very rare that works.
Yeah.
But with music photography, I feel like, I don't know if it's just because we're used to seeing images like that, and there's so much interesting stuff going on, but it feels like that works more in this genre than others. But I do agree that the blackening is a little extreme. Community says 3.25. I think that's a pretty high rating for the community. I don't remember what the number one image was, but it was less than a 4.
Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
I don't know.
It's my first one.
Yeah.
Of the two.
Sometimes we debate on what is a snapshot versus what needs work. I tend to believe that this is still a photographer who's put some thought into it, and it wasn't just a snapshot, but I see where you're coming from. There's really not a whole lot going on here. The background looks cheap.
Yeah.
The lighting looks horrible. The moment is not even a moment.
It's like,
yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it's just like, and there's certain situations like this where the lighting is so bad, the background's so cheap, there's nothing going on. The musician, I'm not saying necessarily here, but they're just not dressed in a cool way. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do. Like, I've gone to concerts and taken some snapshots and just felt like,
no, there's nothing I like about this one.
Yeah, I mean, or you take shots at a concert and you're just like, within the first couple songs, you're like, nothing looks good about this venue. I'm just gonna put the camera away and enjoy the show. Like, you just know you're not gonna get anything out of it, which is frustrating because as a photographer, you always want to believe that you can get something, but you have to really start thinking out of the box and like cropping in tight or shooting from the crowd's perspective, something. Here, I just feel
I don't
like,
even know what you could do if you were there. I'm trying to think of what could you compose if someone were standing there with that up lighting, greenish cast, cheap curtains that are not, and then the speaker back here and the wires, and what could you do with that?
it just doesn't feel high end.
No.
And sometimes it's, you shoot it for the client, or you shoot it for the event, and it's captured. I still think you can capture this for the event better than this, but like, it's not going to be an image or a location or an artist that's going to belong in your portfolio.
Right.
Community says 1.3, so they recognize what we were just saying as well.
All right.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
I feel like I'm kind of being a little nice.
I am too.
This feels kind of generic. I like the lighting.
It's such 2.5.
I feel like, this is a stage where there is pretty good lighting and it feels grand, but like, I'm not really loving anything about it, but I still feel like, if this was Lauryn Hill doing the exact same thing, you'd keep it in your portfolio, It's okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, would you crop a little bit off the top of the image? Is that, like, necessary?
Sometimes I like the headroom. It's kind of artsy. But in this case, it doesn't really. I like the color a lot in this one. This one looks really
kind
good.
of the blue and the cyan.
Yeah, whatever white balance was picked is and the lighting. This was the one. 2 seconds later, it could be all red or something.
Yeah.
With really terrible green cast LED or something, but that looks good.
Yep. Again, if you're the photographer and you're in this situation, good job. I think you captured a really solid. Safe image. Whether or not it belongs in your portfolio,
Yep.
I don't know. It would be one I would probably replace fairly soon. Community says 2.43.
Whoa.
Here we are back.
This is another band that is not on the pop charts.
No.
Not at all.
They're not opening up for Miley.
I doubt it.
Who's the artist you just?
Although she's gone rock on us all now.
Who's the artist you just exposed me to? Your daughter's been listening to?
Oh, Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish.
Eilish. It seems like all daughters love her.
She's huge now. Like that video had like 50 million views, or was it more than that?
She is a hit.
Yeah, it's a
I like
killer.
it. That's good
Me
stuff.
too. I heard on the radio the other day. I know I'm probably late to the game, but I was like,
Yeah.
I love the song. But she seems very like dark, and that music video is like
Is that the one where she's crying the blood?
blood, and she's walking like The Exorcist.
This
and
is like my 11-year-old loving this stuff. you know?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. She's
little
trying to
dark.
like do something that grabs your attention, but I was like, this is a little darker, and the
Uh-huh.
lyric content is pretty weird too. But I love the song. It's really
So is this a thing now? This headroom? Like,
I feel like it is among people who don't know how to make a proper crop, but
well, no,
maybe
I mean,
they were trying to get the logo
Yeah.
in there. Maybe they thought the light beam needed to be in there. I feel like the crop needs to be. We haven't critiqued this yet though, so
no, I just
we
want to
haven't
see
thrown
it.
a rating.
I just want to give it a crop. I think that's much better, right?
Yeah. We've just cropped in a little bit and gotten rid of.
Got it in the rule of thirds and everything.
Yeah.
All right, so where were they standing and sitting? Let me see this guy's face.
Shots like this are difficult because it feels like they're on the stage because they're the same level as the artist.
Right.
But it feels like they're very far in front of them. So it
So where are they?
I don't know if the artist is just really far back on the stage, which allows the photographer to be closer to the front of the stage. But yeah, it's a weird angle that like I say weird. It's
They're
not
eye
like
level, it looks like.
it's just an unusual, it's an uncommon, I can't place where the photographer is standing.
I'm ready.
But sometimes in venues, there's like a side bar that's higher and it's like VIP and you get to see the artist at eye level versus
Yeah.
low. But, all right,
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
3.
You went 2.
With the crop,
Yeah.
and again, the crop you could fix.
Because of where they are, I don't know where they are, but that's, and access and all that, they deserve at least a 3.
I think it's shot pretty well.
Let's recrop it. Yeah.
And a crop is an easy adjustment you can do. I think fixing the crop.
We need to screenshot that for David to edit that in, just like that.
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, if we just crop in and put him on the right side of the frame, get rid of all the dead space above him.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish there was maybe something more going on the left.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That
'cause
doesn't bother me on this one.
graphically, like it kind of gives you like it pushes your eye to him, but
Yeah.
I could see it being a little more interesting if it had something there on the left. But
Right.
I just think the way the crop is now, you're cutting off his guitar. It's all about the facial expression, and if it's going to be about the facial expression, why not really crop in and make it about that?
Okay.
Community says 2.69.
Yeah.
What is going on here? This is the craziest drum set.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is all this?
I like it. I want to know what this is.
It's like super
I want to hear this.
technical and like industrial. Like,
I feel like we should have like a short clip of the music of these artists. That would be cool. Like to know or
unfortunately, the way YouTube works is they would probably pull the video,
Even if it's just-
though you're promoting the artist and like exposing people to new stuff.
how about if it like 3 or 4 seconds? Would it pull it?
Yeah.
I thought it had to be like a certain time limit or something. You can't get away with like a few seconds.
I mean, sometimes you can. It all depends on whether or not the algorithm recognizes the music and then pulls it, or it feels like there should be some happy middle ground. I'm not saying we're using their music for free, but it would be a lot cooler to expose people to the music so they know what this sounds like.
See, and part of my vote on this one is for the guy jumping up with the drumstick. I mean, like, it gets a higher score because of the subject.
Yeah,
And
of course.
I mean, what
No,
the
you played
subject's
drums.
doing.
Did you ever put
in
this
the
much
80s?
into it?
Yeah, in the 80s, I was standing.
Yeah. You
Standing
had some
drummer.
moves. What was your move?
Standing on the drummer's throne and spinning around was
When you spin, were you able to hit stuff?
we
or
opened for Flock of Seagulls, and I did that.
You opened for Flock of Seagulls and like you outperformed their drummer, or did he?
Well, I don't want to say
How you don't want to say?
that, but we did kill it that
You
night.
killed it that
We
night.
killed it.
All right, I think I'm ready.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
4.
I'm just looking for something really good, and I think I like everything about it.
This does stand out. The drums themselves and the design of the drums stand out. The fact the drummer's jumping is kind of cool.
And you know, they could have brought out more of these drums, but I like the fact that they're dark and they didn't really try to over process it and, you know, bring out some of the details.
It doesn't look fake or like cheesy HDR.
Right.
I agree. I mean, I like the color of this.
Me too.
In many cases, color at concerts is the thing that you can manipulate the most. So you could really change the white balance and give this a completely different mood.
Right.
You could make this warmer. You could make the lights look unlike they did live at the show. Maybe this is a little subdued. I don't know if you could bump up the colors a little bit more, some of these like hues down on the bottom. But I kind of like the way that it's graded.
I like it.
I feel like it
slightly
looks
desaturated.
Yeah, it looks kind of natural, but I'm just trying to suggest other things that you could do, but that you probably couldn't do in other types of photography. You go outdoors and shoot something natural light. You can't make the colors too wacky.
Right.
But with concerts, you definitely can manipulate that. Community says 2.78. All right, and that is the last photograph. I really enjoyed that. I like live music, and I feel like this genre, you know, there's so much out of the control of the photographer that I think makes it look a little more interesting.
Right.
A lot of times when you critique things where it's portraits or any genre where the photographer has complete control, it's very easy to come across very negative and to tell the photographer what they should have done differently and that. But I feel like events like this make it a little more forgiving, but at the same time, you still have to be very strict on what you should be putting in your portfolio, especially if you're trying to attract new live music clients.
Right.
Overall, what do you think?
I like them all, except for the one. You know?
There was one in here that you didn't like.
There's one that was not that great.
Yeah. Did you expect? You were saying that there was.
Well, it was like I
this.
said, just to be there and to do this, it's hard to go low on any of these scores. And the one I did with Lee, it's like they went to all this elaborate setup and everything, and then it would be like
a flop.
terrible.
Yeah.
Like, what were they thinking? Like, like a bar coming out of their head or something. I don't know.
I haven't completely watched the last Critique the Community, but I watched a little bit of it, and I just, you know, it was interesting to see a new perspective, and I'm glad you were able to be a part of this one as well. If you guys want to submit your own pictures, the next critique is on what? Interiors?
Interiors.
Like real estate?
Real estate.
Architecture?
In general.
Okay. Make sure you head to the link below. You can post your own pictures, and then in about a week, we will be back with probably another guest, and we will go through your pictures and rate them and give away 2 free tutorials. If you want to check out all the tutorials that we produced, head over to fstoppers.com/store where you can see everything there. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get notifications when we have new videos. And if you're into photography and videography and just want to stay tuned with all the latest news, reviews, and commentary in the photography industry, head over to fstoppers.com. Thanks so much for being a part of this critique. It's always good to see you.
Right on.
You going to send us off with a little song and dance?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to turn it on. Like, they can't hear that. Sounds like a hit.
I doubt it.